Hi, it's Nick from the Run Testers, and this is our review of the On Cloudboom Echo. So the Cloudboom Echo is kind of the third carbon plate shoe from On after the Cloud Flash and the kind of Cloudboom last year. So Cloudboom was On's first real attempt at kind of a marathon carbon racing shoe, but we all found it really quite firm and harsh. And On has clearly taken steps to address that with the Cloudboom Echo, which has a higher stack. It's up to 35 mils now. It's got kind of a couple of kinds of cushioning there, but also that higher stack allows for a far more kind of pronounced bend in the carbon plate, which should create kind of more of a rocking effect and also give you a bit more of the kind of flex and pop and kind of those efficiency gains that you associate with kind of carbon plate shoes, which you didn't really get from the original Cloudboom, which is kind of a fast, firm shoe, really. Interestingly, this actually comes in lighter than the Cloudboom for me, despite the higher stack. This is 227 grams in my UK size 9, which is kind of 8 ounces dead on, and it was 240 grams for the Cloudboom. That actually, so 227 grams puts the Echo kind of right into the kind of the big main pack of kind of newer carbon super shoes, things like the Alphafly, the Endorphin Pro 2, the RC Elite 2. There are some kind of lighter shoes like the Vaporfly and the Metaspeed Sky, but yeah, that makes it kind of much more comparable to other shoes, whereas 240 was actually a little heavy for what was quite, a low profile shoe in the original Cloudboom. It's going to cost £210 in the UK or $270 in the US. That's the same price as the Vaporfly. That's putting it right up there, so it's really got to do the business. This needs to be a real serious carbon plate racing shoe for that kind of money. So like I say, there's more cushion throughout the shoe, especially under the forefoot. It's kind of On's mix of On's Helion cushioning, and you've got the kind of cloud pods obviously as well. What's interesting about the carbon plate here is that it's actually not complete. It's not 100% carbon. There's other materials in there to kind of make it less breakable, I guess, and it's got differing tensions throughout the shoe. So you can see it's actually quite a flexible shoe around the midfoot for a carbon shoe, but actually in the forefoot it's much less flexible. On's kind of designed it to give you more pop from your forefoot by having a stiffer part of the plate there. Obviously, this is going to be a little bit more cushion than previous On shoes, but this kind of On's cushioning is certainly firmer than the kind of super foams you're seeing out there. Things like New Balance's Fuel Cell, Nike Zoom X, other Peba foams, even other kind of EVA foams are much softer than On's particular brand of cushioning, but it's not always a bad thing. Some people like a firmer ride, and if this can create a kind of carbon shoe benefits while being a bit firmer, it offers something a little different on the market, let's say. One thing On has always done really well is uppers, and this is a really nice upper. It's got a nice kind of mesh material. It's very thin, paper thin, but holds the foot quite well in place. It's got kind of thin, flat laces. All creates quite a nice, lightweight feel on the top of the shoe, but there is actually a decent amount of cushioning around the back here. There's an extra kind of heel collar band there, as well as a little bit of padding on the top there, but the tongue itself is pretty lightweight. There's no real padding there, stripped back racing style upper there. And then on the outsole, there's not really a lot going on. Got a little bit of minimal extra kind of outsole rubber there, and then a fair bit around the forefoot kind of to help you with your grip, especially on the kind of toe off. It's actually even less of kind of an outsole rubber covering than you've got on the Cloudboom, which obviously has helped with weight. But it's worth saying, although these look like kind of exposed things, this isn't kind of like an exposed foam that's going to wear down very quickly. These pods are pretty hard wearing, and I'd expect the Cloudboom Echo outsole to last pretty well.
So the fit for me has been really comfortable. I really like these shoes. I think they're a nice lockdown fit. They're probably not the widest shoe you're going to get. They're a race shoe, so you expect that they're probably a little bit sort of fitted and not necessarily that generous in terms of fit. So if you've got wider feet, you might have a slight issue with these. The material at the top is actually really sort of cloth-like, so there's a lot of give in it. So it's not really pressing against your feet when you're wearing them. But yeah, overall for me, I think they're a very comfortable fit and probably one of the most comfortable On shoes that I've tried for a while.
So fit for me was great, but what I will say on that is that it's quite a narrow kind of fitting shoe, and I'm quite fortunate as the fact that I've got quite a narrow foot, so it worked well for me. But I would kind of err on the side of caution if you've got a wider foot, I think, because it is quite a narrow fitting shoe. So I probably, I had mine in the UK size 8. I wouldn't go down a size. I don't think I would go up a size. So it is true to size, but yeah, a narrow fit essentially.
The Cloudboom Echo was true to size for me. I have fairly narrow feet, and this is a fairly narrow shoe and fit me quite nicely. The only problem I had on one run is it does taper quite sharply at the forefoot there, which obviously a lot of shoes do, and I hadn't cut my toenails, and I did end up cut because I have quite weird toes that kind of overlap a bit, and I cut my toes and got a bit of bleeding on the lovely white upper, which is not on this shoe, and I probably won't do any cutaways of the shoe that does have blood on it. have a first run review of the On Cloudboom Echo on the channel, and if you've watched that, I was pretty so on the shoe. Did kind of an easy to steady hour in it, and I wasn't really sure that On had made enough progress from their previous carbon races. I can say now that I don't think any shoe has ever won me over more after a kind of a meh first run than the Cloudboom Echo. I really like this shoe. Since that run, I've been using it for a lot of my marathon training. I've been doing kind of a lot of long runs in it and a lot of fast, but mostly I've just gone up the pace. So in that first run, I did a bit of easy running in it, and it's just not great for that. It feels a bit firm, clunky, not very comfortable. As soon as you get to steady pace or fast paces, the Echo does come into its own. And there's definitely, I feel like a sweet spot in this shoe for me where I just start ticking over really nicely, almost effortlessly, and it really engages with the plate. I feel like I'm getting an efficiency gains. It feels comfortable, protective, very smooth ride, and it just really works for me basically sometimes. And well, in fact, in pretty much all the runs I've used it for since, I've just really liked using it. Overall, I've done 100k in the shoe now, and I didn't really like the Cloudboom, but I do like the Cloudboom Echo a lot. So what I found up with the Cloudboom originally was that I couldn't really use it for 2 long runs in a row, or even 1 long run. It started to beat up my legs. But my kind of second and third runs in the shoe, I did kind of 10 miles in around, I think, just under an hour, and then I did 8 miles at kind of 5:50 pace the next day, and it just didn't feel like I was smashing up my legs at all. It felt like I was getting protected in a similar way to some of the other carbon shoes out there, and it does this while still having a reasonably firm ride. It's not harsh, I think, crucially because of the exaggerated rocker and that plate in there having more room to bend. It's so smooth rolling through that I find that I don't get the kind of impact on the legs that I was getting from the Cloudboom, which is a far kind of flatter shoe, much more of a kind of racing flat style. So although you're not getting a super soft, cushy, springy ride like you will get from things like the Nikes and the New Balances, it still does protect the legs in a slightly different way just by having that kind of really smooth action. Quite similar actually to me for the Saucony Endorphin Pro, which is again a slightly firmer carbon shoe but with a very smooth kind of rolling effect. And it also does feel quite light on the foot. It does help turn over. I should also say all of this, I am a heel striker, and obviously I don't think this is a shoe that On would typically push at heel strikers, but I found it very comfortable, and I have got that really nice kind of smooth roll through it, landing on my heel and rolling through with that plate, which is what I get from other carbon shoes. So my best run in there, I did a half marathon training run where I was kind of progressive. Did the first half. The idea was to go around 6-minute miles, then drop it to around 5:45 miles for the second half, and just felt really good in it. Like I say, felt strong at the end of it, legs were protected, kicked up the last mile or so, ran a 1:15, and just felt like the shoe had more to give. Like a shoe I certainly do want to try in a race sometime. I think it's got that kind of long distance protection for halves, certainly, and I think I'd feel reasonably comfortable going up to a marathon. I think the longest run I have done in the shoe was about 25k, which again doesn't feel like it's beating up the legs. Very different feeling to what the Cloudboom gave to me, where I did feel kind of shredded after kind of 1 long run in the shoe or using it a couple of days in a row. Also done some kind of shorter speed work, kind of doing 12 times 60 seconds, and yeah, it's got that. It does pick up very nicely. It feels very fast and nimble on the foot. If I do stray onto my toes for strides or something like that, it does feel like very comfortable to run in at that kind of pace as well. So yeah, all in all, it does feel like quite a versatile racing shoe. Certainly would be an option for 5k, 10k, and I think it has got that kind of nice, smooth, efficient action that you would want for longer races as well. So it's a big thumbs up really all round on the actual performance of the On. I guess its real problem, which will come on to the verdict, is the fact that there are so many other great shoes out there, and it is still quite pricey.
I've been really impressed with the On Cloudboom Echo. I wasn't really expecting this shoe after the Cloudboom came out last year, and I wasn't a big fan of the Cloudboom at all. It just didn't feel very comfortable. It felt very harsh on my legs when I was running. It just didn't feel like I was getting a lot of sort of responsiveness out of it or any sort of comfort or cushioning. But On have done a fantastic job in sort of learning from the Cloudboom and producing the Cloudboom Echo, which it does have a nice level of cushioning. It's not bouncy by any stretch of the imagination, but it's very responsive. There's enough cushioning there to feel like there's cushioning without feeling like the foam is really soft, which is something like you get in the Asics Metaspeed Sky or the Vaporfly or the Alphafly. But it does feel like a very fast shoe, and that cushioning that is in there is definitely, it makes this more of a long distance shoe than the Cloudboom, which I'd only use the Cloudboom for short distances, 5 to up to 10k maybe. But this shoe, I think it's very versatile. I think I haven't run a marathon in it yet. I've done a half marathon training run in this shoe, and I really enjoyed it. It just felt very light. It felt very responsive. It felt like you could pick up the pace very nicely. And this sort of rocker design, it works really well. It does feel like the rocker's helping you out. It's kind of pushing you forward and making you sort of roll the legs over nicely. So yeah, I think overall it's a fantastic shoe for what On have done. They've definitely taken a lot of time and thought into this shoe in comparison to their sort of previous race shoes, which I was never really a big fan of, and made something which is really enjoyable. So yeah, big fan of it. I think it's probably a good option if you're looking for a marathon race shoe. You want that sort of performance level technology in there, but maybe you're not looking for something really soft and sort of bouncy that you get in the Vaporfly and the Alphafly. So all in all, I've had a very good time running this across multiple distances, and I think it's a very, very good shoe.
So in terms of running performance, I have done over 50k in these now, and that is not something I could say with the Cloudboom. Now, I put that down to kind of one thing really, and that is it's just not as firm or as stiff to run in than the original essentially. But it's down to, that really comes down to running at your quickest in this shoe. And, it is built for racing, it is built for those kind of top end, kind of, elite kind of type speeds. When I was running at my kind of quickest essentially, that's where these felt, best really. As soon as I backed off a little bit, it didn't feel as nice, and you felt a little bit more that stiffness and firmness that you still have got here. Essentially you've still got this kind of dual layer CloudTech cushioning, and then you've got a small kind of curved carbon fiber infused speed board, which I think does give you that kind of push forward when you are running at your quickest. But for me, when you're not, it doesn't feel as nice. I still feel like this is a half marathon max shoe for me personally, I would say. But I think if you kind of like a narrow fitting shoe, you are running at those kind of top end quicker paces, you can get what's kind of designed and what this shoe aims to kind of give a runner, I think, essentially. So for me, it was good at those quicker paces. That's what it's designed for. But I think in terms of having something that's a little bit more versatile, that's not really what you get from this shoe. But if you want speed, this is a much better shoe than the Cloudboom, and kind of kudos to On for making the improvements, making the Echo a much nicer shoe to run in. So my verdict on the Cloudboom Echo is, first of all, it is better than the Cloudboom. I actually wanted to run, or could run more in it, or didn't feel uncomfortable to run in. Now, whether I think this is a shoe that's designed for longer distances, I am still not sure about that. It still feels like to me, you probably want to top out or max out on kind of half marathon in this shoe. And also, it is built for speed, so it is kind of for those quicker runners. And if you're going to go longer distance, you kind of want to be able to maintain that kind of quicker pace in these shoes to get the most out of them, I think. In terms of what else is out there, I mean, obviously I haven't tried the Nike shoes, the kind of racing shoes. I have tried ASICS shoes. I had experience with Saucony and Hoka stuff. I would probably err on getting something like the ASICS. I think like for a marathon, I think it's a bit more spacious in terms of that fit, and you can still run quick in that shoe, I think. I think it's a similar story to Saucony as well. I think I prefer the cushioning on the Saucony shoes as well. So I will say about the Cloudboom Echo, it is better than the first one. It's definitely an improvement. I think it's going to appeal to some runners who like a little bit of a firmer feel than some of those other shoes around this price. But ultimately, if it was me and I was picking, I would probably still go for something from ASICS or Saucony's kind of range.
My verdict on the Cloudboom Echo is that On have done a great job with this. It's probably one of the biggest improvements I've ever seen in a shoe design over the past few years, since the Cloudboom was originally released last year, because that shoe I wasn't impressed with and I didn't enjoy running in. I do enjoy running in this shoe. I think it's a really nice design. I think it's got a lot going for it when it comes to running at pace. I think it's got a lot going for it for distance. So yeah, I think it's a great all-round shoe for that, and I think it will make a lot of people happy if you're looking for something like a carbon plate shoe, but you want something that's a little bit harder than what you get in shoes like the Vaporfly and the Metaspeed Sky. What I would say is the price, and it's just too expensive for what it is. I think when you go up against shoes like the Vaporfly and the Alphafly, it's sitting around that same price point, and I just don't think you get enough from this shoe to compete with those shoes at that price. I'd really like to see this shoe come down to something like £180 maybe maximum. And then I think you're probably getting a shoe that's good value for money and is a good competitor for those other shoes. At the price it is at, I just think it's up against a lot of competition at the moment, and I wouldn't buy this over those shoes for that price. But if you like the design and you really like On shoes and you want something that feels more like an On shoe, a little bit harder, a little bit more less bouncy, you're probably going to really enjoy this shoe. I just think the price is a little bit too high.
So it comes to my verdict on the On. I'm actually very similar to Tom, which is to say that I, like Tom, really like this shoe, but also like Tom, I wouldn't be spending my money on it given the price and what you can get for the same price. You know, the good here, we've covered it at the run, it provides a slightly firmer option for a carbon plate shoe, but still a very efficient and protective ride that I think you can use for longer events. It is comfortable, it is nice looking, it is narrow, it does feel a bit more like an old school racer while still having some carbon benefits. The main problem though is it's the same price as the Nike Vaporfly 2, and the Nike Vapor 2 is a better shoe, I think, simply. I think it covers all the distances better than the Cloudboom Echo. I think it's faster, it's softer, it's springier. It's more of a kind of that real super shoe feel to it, and it's obviously been proven by so many runners having loved it and used it for now 3-4 years. So for On to come in and price the Cloudboom Echo at the same as the Vaporfly 2, it's just going to make it too hard for too many runners to choose this over the Vaporfly, which is a proven and fantastic shoe. There's also the New Balance RC Elite 2 at the same price, which I think, again, I like a little bit more than the On. I think that's more geared for longer races. I've done a half marathon in it this weekend, and I would like to use it for a marathon sometime. It's a bit softer, squishier, but it's very comfortable, and I think a lot of runners will find it more comfortable and forgiving than the On, even though I don't think it's a particularly harsh ride, this shoe, at all. But the RC Elite is such a cushy ride for a carbon shoe that I think a lot of people might prefer that, again, at the same price. And then there is the Endorphin Pro 2 for kind of 190, and I think even if you do want that kind of firmer style of carbon shoe, like the On is, then the Endorphin Pro does it as well, maybe even a little bit better, and it is a bit cheaper. So that's, I think, the main problem with the On here. I mean, if you're someone who loves to get all the carbon shoes in and try them all and see if they're any good, you won't be disappointed in the Cloudboom Echo, I don't think. I think it's a really impressive shoe. I think the competition out there is so stiff that to come in at £210, or even, I think the price in the US seems to be quite a weird conversion that's really, really high, like I think it's $270. And I think if you're talking that kind of money, I think I'd still be leaning towards some of the other carbon shoes out there. But yeah, this is a big improvement from On. It's a big step up on the Cloudboom, and I think there is now a serious On carbon racing shoe out there for people to use if they're a big fan of the brand, and that's a good thing. Another bit of variety in the carbon shoe ranks is always great, and yeah, we'll try and get some races in it and do a kind of race review as well. But all in all, thumbs up on the shoe, it's a thumbs down on the price. So that's it, guys. That is our review of the On Cloudboom Echo. Let us know in the comments what you think of the shoe. Are you desperate to try out On's new carbon racer? Please like, subscribe, ring the little bell, and yeah, we will see you next time.